China has more anti-ship missiles than any navy on Earth, and several of them can already reach US carriers before a single fighter jet gets airborne. The Pentagon calls this China's assassin's mace. Naval planners call it their biggest headache since the Cold War. Today we're exploring every major Chinese anti-ship missile in the arsenal, what each one does, what it's designed to kill, and which ones keep American admirals up at night. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why the South China Sea is the most dangerous body of water on the planet right now. Subsonic and supersonic ship killers. China's anti-ship missile story starts with two weapons that are still in active service and still dangerous, even if they don't grab headlines anymore. The YJ-83, Yingji, meaning Eagle Strike, is China's workhorse. That it's a subsonic sea skimmer, flying low and fast at roughly 590 miles per hour, hugging the ocean surface at altitudes as low as 5 to 7 meters to avoid radar detection. Range sits somewhere between 120 and 180 miles, depending on the variant. It's launched from surface ships, submarines, and aircraft, and it's produced in massive quantities. Think of it as China's equivalent of the American Harpoon, except China has exported it widely and built far more of them. On its own, one YJ-83 isn't catastrophic. Modern ship defenses, CIWS guns, surface-to-air missiles can handle individual missiles. The YJ-83's threat comes from saturation. Fire 20 of them simultaneously from multiple vectors, and you've created a math problem that overwhelms point defense systems. Now, step up to the YJ-12. This one operates differently. The YJ-12 is a large, air-launched, supersonic anti-ship missile, Mach 2 in cruise, reportedly accelerating toward Mach 4 in its terminal dive. That's roughly 3,000 miles per hour at impact. It carries a warhead estimated at over 200 kilograms, roughly 440 pounds, and has a range of around 250 miles when launched from aircraft like the H-6K bomber. A single YJ-12 hit would mission kill most surface combatants. A destroyer doesn't survive that warhead well. Even a carrier absorbs serious damage. The YJ-12 also uses a weaving, unpredictable terminal flight path, making intercept geometry harder for ship-based SAM systems. It isn't stealthy, but at Mach 4 on approach, stealth becomes less relevant. Your reaction window is measured in seconds, not minutes. Before we move to the next, comment your answer right now. Can the US Qing Navy defenses reliably stop a coordinated YJ-12 salvo? Yes or no? Let's see where this community stands. DF-21, D, and DF-26. This is the chapter that genuinely reshaped how the US Navy thinks about Pacific operations. The DF-21D is a medium-range ballistic missile, adapted from a land-based nuclear weapon, redesigned specifically to kill aircraft carriers at sea. Range is approximately 900 miles. That's roughly the distance from Los Angeles to Denver. It's launched from Mobile Road mobile launchers that are difficult to track, survives most of its flight in space like a conventional ballistic missile, and then re-enters the atmosphere in a maneuvering warhead called a Maneuvering Re-Entry Vehicle, or MARV, that can adjust its trajectory mid-descent to track a moving ship. The targeting challenge is extraordinary. A moving carrier changes position constantly. Hitting it requires real time over the horizon, targeting satellites, long-range maritime patrol aircraft, radar networks, feeding coordinates to the missile during flight. China has built that network. Whether it's reliable enough to work in a contested electronic warfare environment is genuinely debated among analysts, but the capability exists. Then comes the DF-26, larger, longer-legged, range up to approximately 2,500 miles, far enough to reach Guam from the Chinese mainland. Guam is the hub of American military power in the Western Pacific. The DF-26 is officially dual-capable, conventional, or nuclear. China has publicly demonstrated it. U.S. analysts have nicknamed it the Guam Killer. Here's the part that kept planners up at night. The DF-26 means the U.S. can't simply pull carriers back to a safe distance outside DF-21D range and still operate effectively. Every mile you retreat to stay safe is a mile your aircraft have to travel to reach the fight, degrading sortie rates, response time, and fuel loads. The DF-26 turns safe into a theoretical concept. Neither system has ever been used in actual combat, and skeptics, including some serious defense analysts, they argue that the real-time targeting architecture China needs to hit a moving carrier at 900-plus miles hasn't been tested under realistic combat conditions, with U.S. electronic warfare actively jamming the sensor network. Fair point. But even if the hit probability is 30%, the mere existence of these missiles forces carriers to operate differently. That's a strategic effect, regardless of a single missile's accuracy. YJ-100, CJ-100 Naval Variant. The YJ-100 is a long-range subsonic cruise missile derived from the Land Attack CJ-100 platform, and it represents a capability most Western analysts underestimated when it appeared under the wings of Chinese H-6N bombers. Range estimates sit between 600 and 900 miles, making it the longest-range air-launched anti-ship cruise missile in China's current inventory. That reach is significant. Though an H-6N doesn't have to get anywhere near a carrier strike group's combat air patrol to put a weapon in the air. It can launch from well outside the defensive bubble, turn around, and be back at base before the missile even reaches its target. The YJ-100 is subsonic, slower than the YJ-12, but at 600-plus miles of standoff range, speed matters less. The engagement timeline is so extended that the launch aircraft is long gone and untouchable. What makes it particularly difficult to counter is that it forces the U.S. to either extend fighter cap out to enormous distances, burning fuel and reducing on-station time, or accept that some missiles will get close enough to require shipboard intercept. Neither option is free. YJ-91. The YJ-91 is China's anti-radiation anti-ship missile, and it's the one on this list with a specific, the targeted mission, hunting radars. Based on the Russian K-831P airframe, it homes in on the electromagnetic emissions of surface search radars and fire control systems. Range is approximately 60 miles. It flies at Mach 2 and is carried by JH-7 and J-16 aircraft. But to understand why this missile matters, you need to understand what radar actually means to a warship. Radar isn't just a sensor. It's the central nervous system of every defensive system on board. Your SPY-1 or SPY-6 radar is what detects incoming missiles. It's what feeds targeting data to your SM-2s, your SM-6s, your CIWS. Without radar, a destroyer worth over $2 billion is essentially a very expensive steel platform with no situational awareness whatsoever. It cannot defend itself. It cannot defend the carrier. It becomes a liability rather than an asset. Now, the YJ-91 exploits that dependency completely. Here's the dilemma it creates in practical terms. A Chinese strike package approaches, say, a mixed formation of H-6 bombers and J-16S. The strike group ships activate their radars to track the incoming threat. That's the correct tactical response. That's what the crew is trained to do. But the moment those radar emissions go out, any YJ-91 carrier in that formation has a precise, real-time targeting solution. The missile homes on the signal itself, not a coordinate, not a predicted position, but the actual live electromagnetic source. It follows the beam home. So the ship's commander faces a choice with no good answer. Keep the radar on and risk a Mach 2 missile hitting the antenna array, destroying the very system you need to survive what comes next. Or switch to emissions control, go radar silent, and try to fight off a coordinated multi-axis missile strike using passive sensors and data links from other platforms. Neither option is clean. Neither option is safe. That's the entire point. This tactic isn't new in concept. The US and Soviet Union both developed anti-radiation missiles during the Cold War, primarily for use against ground-based air defense systems. What makes the YJ-91 notable is its integration into a broader maritime strike doctrine. It isn't designed to be fired alone. It's designed to be the opening move in a layered attack, the weapon that arrives first, degrades or destroys radar capability, and opens a window for everything else to follow. The YJ-12S, the YJ-18S, the ballistic missiles, they all become significantly more effective against a ship that can no longer see them coming. Think of it like this. In a boxing match, the jab doesn't knock anyone out, but it disrupts rhythm, forces defensive reactions, and sets up the combinations that do. The YJ-91 is China's jab, and in a coordinated strike scenario, getting jabbed at Mach 2 means the combinations are already in the air before you finish reacting. The YJ-91 isn't the weapon that sinks the ship, it's the weapon that blinds the ship so everything else can. What do you think? Does the DF-21D work against a carrier in contested airspace, or is it a bluff that only works on paper? Drop your take below. YJ-18 and YJ-62. So far, we've talked about weapons launched from land and air. Now, let's look at what China's surface ships and submarines are carrying, because that's the threat that operates inside any defensive perimeter you try to establish. The YJ-18 is the missile that most concerned US naval analysts when it emerged. It's submarine-launched, which immediately complicates the problem. Surface ships have radar. Submarines are invisible. The YJ-18 launches from a torpedo tube, rises to the surface, and then ignites, initially cruising at subsonic speeds to extend range out to approximately 290 miles. That long cruise phase is survivable because it's quiet and low. Then, within roughly 20 to 40 miles of the target, a separating rocket booster kicks in, and the terminal seeker accelerates to Mach 2.5 to 3. That transition is the key. Defenses optimize for either subsonic targets or supersonic targets. The YJ-18 makes you deal with both, in sequence, from the same weapon. It's a targeting problem that legacy systems weren't designed for. The YJ-62 is a different animal, a larger, longer-range subsonic cruise missile, primarily launched from surface ships. The range is estimated at over 250 miles. It's slower than the YJ-18, making it more interceptable in isolation, but it carries a heavier warhead and it's designed for coordinated saturation strikes rather than individual engagement. Think of it as the volume shooter in a strike package while faster missiles occupy the defenses. Together, the YJ-18 on submarines and the YJ-62 on surface combatants create a layered problem. You can't simply keep surface ships at standoff range. Submarines are already inside that range. And you can't simply focus defenses on the fast inbound missiles. The volume of subsonic weapons overwhelms point defense capacity. YJ-21 and the new edge. Now we get to the part that has no comfortable answer. The YJ-21, first publicly revealed in 2022, is a ship-launched hypersonic anti-ship ballistic missile. It was demonstrated firing from a Type 055 destroyer, which is China's most capable surface combatant. The YJ-21 follows a ballistic arc before a maneuvering hypersonic glide phase in terminal approach, flying at speeds likely exceeding Mach 6, roughly 4,500 miles per hour. At that speed, and with terminal maneuverability, current ship-based missile defense systems have an intercept window measured in a few seconds at most. The SM-6, currently the U.S. Navy's best ship-based interceptor, was designed with hypersonic intercept in mind, but against a maneuvering hypersonic glide vehicle coming down nearly vertically from altitude, it faces severe geometry constraints. The YJ-21 isn't a future system. It's on operational destroyers right now, and here's the kicker that most coverage misses. The YJ-21 being ship-launched means it doesn't require fixed land-based infrastructure or airfields that can be struck before a conflict begins. It goes wherever the Type 055 goes, including potentially far outside the first island chain, into waters where China's land-based missiles can't reach. This is where everything changed in terms of how US planners think about the threat. It's no longer a question of staying outside a certain geographic radius. It's a question of where Chinese surface combatants are, which is a fundamentally different and harder operational problem. So, which Chinese anti-ship missiles pose a genuine and credible threat to US naval forces, and which are overhyped? Here's the direct answer. Most of them are real problems, but for different reasons and at different confidence levels. The YJ-83 and YJ-62 are credible through volume, not individual lethality. The YJ-12 is a serious air-launched threat that demands respect. The YJ-18 on submarines is arguably the most immediately dangerous because submarines are hardest to find. The DF-21D and DF-26 are strategically decisive, even if their real-world hit probability is debated. They've already changed how carriers operate, and the YJ-21 represents a category of threat that current shipboard defenses weren't built to reliably defeat. Here's what you need to remember going forward. First, the threat isn't any single missile. It's the integrated system, all designed to work together. Defeating one layer doesn't defeat the concept. Second, the US is not standing still. And directed energy weapons, the SM-6 upgrade path, better submarine hunting, and distributed maritime operations are all active responses. Third, the window between now and 2030 is the most dangerous period. China's missile programs are maturing faster than US countermeasures are being fielded. The question now isn't whether Chinese anti-ship missiles have changed Pacific naval warfare. They have. The question is what the next move looks like.